Hi, this is Sorrel from Sorrel's Cake and Pastry Workshops, here with some more helpful hints for the home baker. This video is especially important to those who've just made Aliyah and want to do some baking, and they walk into the grocery store and they are inundated with all these different types of flour. There are only a small percentage of what's on the shelf. Just look at the flour shelves at Rami Levy and look at the variety of flours offered. It's hard to make a decision as to which flour I should buy. Let's start out by explaining to you the differences between all these different types of flours, and hopefully that'll help you with your baking projects. The first thing to look for is the different types of bags. There's plastic that are sealed, and then you have these paper bags. The flour that's in these plastic bags has already been pre-sifted and checked for bugs, and they're sealed up, and you don't have to do any checking. Anything in the paper bags, unfortunately, you're going to have to sift with a fine mesh sifter before you use that. So I have 3 bags of regular white wheat flour. And this bag, it says kemach tufach, which means this already has baking powder or some type of leavener in it. But again, this has to be sifted. Here I have all the specialty types of flour. So this flour is pre-sifted. It's made specifically for challah and breads. This one is pre-sifted, made specifically for focaccia. And this is also not pre-sifted, but flour is especially for bread. And this is wheat flour, but it's whole wheat, which is kemach maleh, whole wheat flour. What's the difference between all these flours? If you turn the packages around, I'm going to show you that what you need to look for is to see how much gluten is in each type of flour. For example, this flour has 12.7% gluten content. What that does is it forms a structure of what we're making. So if we're making a bread, we want to have a nice firm structure so we can slice a piece of bread and make a delicious sandwich with it that won't fall apart. But when we're making a cake, of course you want to have a nice structure so the cake doesn't fall apart. But we don't want it to be rubbery or hard like a piece of bread. We want it to be soft and melt in your mouth. Delicious. So what does this mean? When we go to the store, we want to decide which flour we want to buy for which project. If I'm making bread, instead of taking a look at what it said is on the package, white wheat flour, flour for bread, I want to also see the gluten content. As a general rule, if you want to make a cake, try to get a gluten content that's less than 11% gluten. That'll say 11 under the proteins or chelbon. And if you want to make bread, I would suggest to get something around at least 12% gluten or higher. For example, this is flour specifically for making breads, but the gluten content is only 11%, whereas this, which is a special flour for making bread, it has a 15.8% gluten content. So if I were to make bread, I would choose something like this. And if I were to make a cake, I would choose a gluten content that's less than 11%, closer to about 10%. I hope this was helpful. Stay tuned to the next videos to find out how to make those cakes.